Okay, let's unpack this. Have you ever wondered if your goats have, well, a secret social life? One that's maybe far more complex, more influential than you ever imagined,
Well,
especially when it comes to something you know, as crucial as their fertility. What if I told you there's this fascinating, almost unspoken bro code among male goats, and that this code can actually supercharge their entire reproductive cycle?
yeah.
Not just for themselves, mind you, but for the entire herd. Even when nature's calendar says it's supposed to be the off-season for making babies. It sounds kind of wild, right? Maybe a bit like science fiction. But the science here, well, it's surprisingly clear and pretty profound.
What's truly fascinating here, and this is what this deep dive will really explore, is just how much we can learn by studying the subtle interactions within a goat herd. You know, the stuff we often overlook. We're going to peel back the layers a bit
Yeah.
and reveal how male goats can be surprisingly influential, how they can kickstart fertility, not just for the females, the does, as they're often called,
The does.
but also for other males in the group. It's really about understanding and then, crucially, maybe optimizing what nature already does so incredibly well, you know, tapping into those innate biological efficiencies. And our whole discussion today, it's based on a specific, pretty groundbreaking research paper. It was published in Theriogenology, which is, you know, a top journal in animal reproduction. It really shines a light on these intricate dynamics.
Yeah, exactly. So our mission today is basically to take this amazing research, which, let's be honest, is usually tucked away in dense scientific journals, lots of jargon.
Can be tough to wade through.
Totally. And we want to translate its most important, most practical nuggets of knowledge, specifically for you, the goat owner. We'll break it down piece by piece, so hopefully you can walk away not just informed, but maybe genuinely surprised by what these clever creatures are capable of. And how you might even apply some of this to, optimize your own herd management. Think of it as your shortcut to being really well-informed about some advanced goat reproduction strategies. And hopefully we'll have a few genuine aha moments thrown in. It might just change how you think about your bucks and does and their hidden social superpowers. Okay, so let's start with the basics. We often think of animals as being perfectly in tune with nature's rhythms, right? Especially with reproduction. Goats are no exception.
Absolutely.
So let's set the scene. What's the natural rhythm? Most goat breeds, particularly the ones thriving in warmer subtropical places like the ones in this study, actually, they're incredibly good at following the sun's lead. When the days start getting shorter, it's like this powerful ingrained cue. Their bodies just know, okay, time to slow down on the baby-making front.
Right.
This natural adjustment, that's what we call seasonal variation in their reproductive activity. And it's primarily governed by how much daylight they get. Scientists call it the photoperiod.
The photoperiod.
Basically, less light means their internal clock, often regulated by melatonin, that hormone, it signals their reproductive systems to become less active. That makes sense, right? It's a natural survival thing. Make sure babies arrive when food's plentiful, weather's mild.
Precisely. And this strong seasonality means there's a very distinct non-breeding season. During this time, female goats typically enter a state called anestrus.
Anestrus, right, meaning not cycling.
Exactly. They're not cycling, not releasing eggs. And at the same time, male fertility can naturally drop quite significantly. It's this quiet period. And, for producers who are aiming for consistent year-round production or trying to hit specific market windows, this can be a real challenge, a common bottleneck in managing the herd.
Makes sense.
However, and this is where it gets really interesting, and it's core to this research, these natural reproductive patterns, they aren't as absolute or as rigidly set in stone as we maybe once thought. They can be significantly influenced, even modulated, by what we call sociosexual interactions, which, in simple terms, is just the complex ways goats interact with each other socially and sexually.
So it's not just about the light.
Not just about the light. It's also about the connections, the cues happening right there within the herd itself.
Okay. Now, you might already be familiar with one of these powerful interactions.
Yeah.
It's pretty well established, the male effect, or as I like to call it, the Romeo effect for goats.
Chuckles, that's a good one.
It's pretty well documented, right? If you've got a female goat, a does, who's just kind of chilling out, maybe she's been kept away from the bucks, she's not cycling, she's in that anestrus state, just bringing a sexually active male, we'll call them SA males for short, just bringing him into her space can trigger an almost immediate rapid response physiologically. It's honestly like a hormonal alarm clock just suddenly goes off inside her.
It is, yeah. A very potent stimulus.
So this first exposure, it leads to a quick surge in a really critical hormone, luteinizing hormone, LH. That kickstarts her ovaries. And then, pretty soon after, they start showing those classic estrus behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
Standing to be bred, the tail flagging, more vocalizing, maybe a bit more fidgety.
Einstein's, yep.
And typically, ovulation happens within about 5 days of him showing up. And here's the key bit. The stronger, the more overtly sexual the male's behavior is, the more potent, the more effective he is at triggering this response.
That's a crucial point. His level of activity matters.
Right. Think of it as their ultimate charm offensive. He walks in looking all vigorous, smells powerfully attractive, acts like the stud of the barn, and boom, the ladies wake up ready to breed.
Indeed. And the male effect has been, a known and valuable tool for managing goat reproduction for a while now. It lets producers bring those anestrus females into estrus, often outside the natural breeding season. But this deep dive, it really expands on something even more fascinating, and for many people, quite surprising: the male-to-male effect.
Okay, the male-to-male effect. This is the bro code part.
Chuckles, you could call it that, yeah.
Mm.
Imagine a group of male goats, your bucks, and maybe one or two of them are really on their game, highly sexually active, full of vigor. Maybe, like in this study, they've been specifically prepped that way using light treatment. What recent studies, including the one we're looking at today, have found is that these super active SA males can actually stimulate other male goats.
Wow, really? Not just the females?
Not just the females. It's not just the does getting a hormonal pep talk. It's like this competitive peer pressure thing happening among the bucks, or maybe a cascade of hormonal signals influencing their buddies. This social interaction among males leads to a significant increase in their testosterone levels, more active sexual behavior from them, and, crucially, even better sperm production in those other males.
Even when they should be in their off-season.
Even when they should theoretically be in their non-breeding season and less reproductively active.
Yes. And previous research, which this study builds on, even showed something remarkable. Male goats, stimulated only by this male-to-male effect for just a month, with no artificial light treatment themselves, mind you, they were just as effective in getting does pregnant. They achieved over 90% pregnancy rates.
90%. Just from hanging out with active buddies.
Exactly. A huge boost in fertility purely from those social cues and interactions. Pretty incredible stuff. Okay, so we've got these two effects. The Romeo effect, active males wake up the does. Got it. And this newer, seemingly just as powerful bro code effect, active males perk up other males. But here's what wasn't clear, right? And this is what this specific study really aimed to answer, filling some really crucial gaps in how we understand this. First, could these sexually active males simultaneously stimulate both the does and other male goats at the same time? When they're all housed together in a mixed flock during that natural non-breeding season.
The simultaneous effect.
Could one superbuck, or maybe a small group of them, basically get everyone revved up and reproductively active across both genders? And second, and this is huge for management, I think, if a male goat gets his mojo back just from hanging out with other active males for a relatively short time, like the 18 days they used in this study.
Okay, 18 days.
Could he still fertilize does just as efficiently and within that same predictable time frame as a male who got the direct stimulation, the one who had the more intensive artificial light treatment? Because, artificial light treatments, they need special setups. It's more work, more expense, right, than just putting some bucks together.
Absolutely. That's a key practical question. And it leads us right to the central hypothesis of the study. They were really aiming to push the boundaries here on understanding natural reproductive stimulation. The researchers predicted that, yes, these SA males could indeed pull off this impressive feat, the simultaneous stimulation in a mixed flock, creating this sort of widespread cascade of reproductive activity. And they further hypothesized that the males stimulated only by this male-to-male effect would prove to be just as competent, just as efficient at fertilizing does, and within that same rapid time frame as their artificially stimulated counterparts, the ones who got the full light treatment. Essentially, they were looking to validate a very natural, energy-efficient, and, sustainable way to optimize breeding outcomes.
Okay, so how do they test this? To answer these big, important questions, these intrepid researchers, they set up their experiment down in the Laguna region of Coahuila in northern Mexico. And they used local crossbred goats, which is great because these are tough, resilient breeds, well adapted to that challenging subtropical climate, probably very much like many of the goats our listeners have, in their own backyards.
Right, relevant breeds.
And this location context is important too, because the non-breeding season for males there is typically January to May, and for the does it's March to August. So they knew exactly when to run the experiment for maximum effect during that natural quiet time. And of course, absolutely critical in any responsible research, all the animal care, the handling, it rigorously followed strict Mexican official guidelines for animal care and use. The whole study got full ethical approval. Animal welfare was top priority.
Absolutely paramount. So they started prepping their male stars way back on November 1st, well ahead of the actual experiment, which kicked off in April. They carefully selected two distinct groups of 6-year-old male goats. First, you had the seasonally hypoactive, or SH, male goats. Think of these guys as your average Joe Bucks. Unstimulated, just following nature's lead, living under natural daylight. They were expected to be reproductively quiet, less active during an upcoming non-breeding season.
The baseline guys.
Exactly. Then they had the sexually active, or SA, male goats. These were the rock stars at the study, as you called them earlier. They got a specialized training camp designed to get them revved up and keep their fertility high. They received an artificial photoperiodic treatment, 16 hours of continuous light per day, meticulously controlled from November 1st all the way through January 15th.
Wow, that's quite a treatment.
It is. This long light exposure was specifically designed to induce and sustain high sexual activity and fertility in these males, basically overriding their natural seasonal dip, keeping them fertile right through the non-breeding season. And crucially, this is a critical detail for the experiment's integrity. These two groups, the SH and the SA males, were housed a significant distance apart, a full 20 kilometers.
20 kilometers. Why so far?
Well, during this prep phase, it was vital to prevent any unintended interaction, any early bro code influence before the controlled experiment began. Goats have incredibly sensitive noses, right? They can detect pheromones, scents from surprisingly far away. So that big separation ensured the only social cues were the ones intentionally introduced later during the study itself. No accidental mingling allowed.
Gotcha. Very thorough. Okay, so the bucks are prepped. What about the ladies, the does?
Right, the does. They use a total of 173 multiparous does.
Mhm.
And as you probably know, multiparous means they're experienced moms, they've kidded successfully before, proven breeders.
Good track record.
Exactly. These does have been kept totally isolated from males since way back in October, just chilling out, ensuring no residual male effect was influencing them. And to be absolutely certain, these does were truly in their off-season, not just, playing hard to get.
Of course.
The researchers went to great lengths. In March, they performed transrectal ultrasounds on every single one of them. This let them visually confirm there was no corpus luteum present, which is a clear, definitive sign they weren't cycling. They were indeed in deep seasonal anestrus.
Okay, so confirmed off-season.
Confirmed. And just for good measure, before the main experiment, they even gave them a little test run. Briefly exposed them to some SH males back in March, just to double-check that this minimal exposure wouldn't accidentally trigger any ovulation. They wanted absolute certainty. These does were confirmed, full-on seasonal anestrus, reproductively quiet, ready to be surprised by some male attention in the main experiment. That level of pre-testing really speaks to the scientific rigor here.
Definitely sounds like they dotted their I's and crossed their T's.
They really did. So with the males meticulously prepped, their fertility status confirmed, and the does rigorously checked to ensure deep anestrus, the real experimental phase kicked off on April 5th. The does were then very carefully divided into 4 distinct groups, and they made a conscious effort to balance each group by things like body condition score, a key indicator of health and nutrition. Each of these 4 groups was housed in separate, shaded open pens and strategically positioned about 100 meters apart.
A football field away, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. This distance was maintained specifically to prevent any visual or olfactory interaction between the different groups, ensuring any effects they saw were purely down to the specific male-female or male-male interactions within each pen. Then, 2 male goats were introduced into each does group, and they stayed there for a crucial 18-day period. This very structured experimental design, this is where the detective work really kicks in. It allowed them to isolate different variables and understand the specific effects of these sociosexual interactions on reproduction.
Okay, lay out the groups for us. This is key to understanding what they found, right?
Absolutely. Let's break down these 4 crucial experimental groups. First, we had the SA group. This one had 45 does. In this setup, does that had been isolated were now joined by 2 of those sexually active SA male goats, the rock stars who got the light treatment. This group served as their positive control for female fertility. Its purpose was basically to confirm what we already knew, that active males can indeed induce fertility, bring anestrus females into estrus, even off-season. It set a high-performing baseline.
Okay, baseline established. Group 1, active males work. Got it.
Second, the SA plus SH group. This one had 40 does. Here, does that were already housed with the seasonally hypoactive SH males, the average Joes, were then joined by 2 additional sexually active SA males. The main goal here was innovative, to test that hypothesis of simultaneous stimulation. Could these potent SA males stimulate both the does and the SH males when everyone's mixed together?
Ah, okay. See if the active guys could light a fire under everyone else.
Exactly. See how their influence permeated the whole social structure. Third, and this honestly is where it gets really interesting. This was absolutely critical for answering the study's main questions. This is the SA apron plus SH group with 50 does. In the setup, does already with SH males were joined by 2 SA males, but, and this is the genius part, these SA males were fitted with specialized aprons.
Aprons, like little goat chastity belts.
Chuckles. You could think of it that way. Basically, a specialized anti-mating apron. A piece of gear designed specifically to prevent physical mating, prevent intromission with the does. This was so clever.
Yeah.
Because the crucial point here is if any does in this group got pregnant and eventually kidded, it had to be because the SH males did the fertilizing. The SA males were physically blocked.
Wow. So that isolates the male-to-male effect on the SH guy's actual ability to fertilize.
Precisely. It proved that just being around the SA males, getting those powerful social cues, the smells, the behavior, that bro code stimulation was enough to turn on the SH males' fertility and make them fully capable of successful reproduction, even without the SA males physically breeding any does themselves. It's a direct test of the SH male's fertilizing capacity after being socially stimulated.
That is clever. Okay, what was the last group?
And finally, group 4. The SH plus SH group with 38 does. This was the control group, you could say, the true baseline for natural activity during the non-breeding season. Here, does already housed with SH males were simply joined by 2 additional SH males. No supercharged SA males involved at all. This group represented what happens with minimal sociosexual stimulation during the off-season. They expected very low, if any, reproductive activity here. It provided that essential comparison point to really see the powerful effects in the other groups where SA males were present.
Okay, 4 distinct groups, each designed to answer a specific question. Super clear. So with this setup, what did they actually measure? How did they track what was happening?
Good question. They looked at several things. For the male goats, they meticulously recorded those nudging events we talked about earlier.
Right, the goat flirting.
Exactly. That whole sequence. The lateral approach, foreleg flexing, maybe some kicking, the bleeding, the tongue extension. It's a really reliable sign of their sexual interest and readiness to breed. They recorded this behavior for 10 minutes on day 0, the very day the males were introduced, and then again on day 1. This was to see how quickly things changed. Did those sexual behaviors ramp up almost immediately? It was like a real-time window into the male effect kicking in.
Okay, so tracking the male behavior immediately. What about the does? What were the key outcomes for them?
For the does, they looked at everything that really matters to a goat owner. A comprehensive assessment of reproductive outcomes from the initial ovulation right through to actual babies on the ground. First, they checked the ovulatory response using transrectal ultrasound about 17 days after the males went in. Did an egg get released? That's step 1. Then, around 45 days after the males arrived, they checked pregnancy rates, again with ultrasound, looking for those telltale signs of a developing fetus. But the ultimate proof, the real rubber meets the road moment for any breeder, was assessing actual fertility, which they defined as the number of does that successfully kidded actual live babies born divided by the total number of does initially put with the males.
That's the bottom line, yeah, kids on the ground.
Exactly. They assessed that at the time of birth. It's the most concrete evidence of reproductive success. They also diligently recorded prolificacy, meaning how many offspring per birth. Singles, twins, triplets. And they calculated the interval from male introduction to when the babies arrived.
Why measure the timing?
That last measurement, the interval to parturition, it's important to see if the pregnancies were happening in a predictable, synchronized way. If everyone got pregnant around the same time, it suggests a strong, rapid response to the males, which has big implications for management, right? Easier planning. So all these meticulous measurements together painted this really complete, incredibly detailed picture of reproductive success within each of those 4 groups.
Okay, the stage is set, the measurements are clear. Let's get to the juicy part. What did they find? Did the results back up their hypotheses?
They absolutely did. The results were strikingly clear, really compelling evidence for the profound power of these sociosexual interactions in a goat herd. First, let's dig into the male goat's behavior, those nudging events, the indicators of sexual activity. On day 0, when everyone was just introduced, the SA males, well, as expected, they were showing significantly more nudging compared to all the SH males in the other groups.
Confirmed they were the active ones from the start.
Confirmed, validated their prep, and importantly, there were no significant differences in nudging among the 3 groups containing S-to-ADMH males on day 0. They all started at a similar low baseline of activity, just as you'd expect for hypoactive bucks in the off-season.
Makes sense.
But here's the kicker. And this is a truly crucial finding about the immediate impact of these social cues. The total number of nudging events significantly increased from day 0 to day 1 in all the groups where SA males were present.
All of them, even the apron group.
Yes, the SA group, the SA plus SH group, and critically, the SA apron plus SH group. This shows a very rapid, very strong behavioral response among the males just to the presence and activity of those SA males. It shows how quickly their influence spread and affected the overall sexual dynamic in the pens.
Wow, within 24 hours.
Within 24 hours. In sharp contrast, the SH plus SH control group, remember, just sleepy males with other sleepy males, showed no significant increase whatsoever in nudging from day 0 to day 1. This really highlights the unique and powerful ability of those SA males to just get things moving, to trigger a rapid behavioral shift in their counterparts.
Okay, so the SA males definitely sparked more activity. But what about the SH males specifically? Did they get more active when the SA guys were around?
Great question. And yes, that's the direct evidence for the male-to-male effect in action behaviorally. On day 1, the SH males in both the SA plus SH group and the SA apron plus SH group showed significantly greater sexual activity, more nudging compared to the SH males stuck in the SH plus SH control group.
So just being near the active guys made the quiet guys more active, even if the active guys couldn't physically mate, like in the apron group.
Exactly. It means that just being around those SA males quickly boosted the sexual behavior of their less active buddies. It wasn't just a subtle change. It was a measurable, significant shift in their behavior within just one day. It's like they caught the competitive spirit, or maybe more accurately, their internal hormonal systems got a powerful jolt from their active peers, leading to that immediate outward expression of increased sexual drive.
That's incredible. Just the social cues changed their behavior so fast.
Yeah.
Okay, the boys got active. For a goat owner, though, the ultimate success is kids on the ground, right? So what do these behavioral shifts mean for the female's fertility? This is where it really matters for herd productivity.
Absolutely. And the results for the does were just as dramatic, if not more so. The percentages of does that ovulated, the percentage that got pregnant, and most importantly, the percentage that actually kidded real babies on the ground, the ultimate measure, were all significantly higher in the SA group, the SA plus SH group, and that critical SA apron plus SH group compared to the sleepy SH plus SH control group.
Significantly higher. Like, how much higher?
We're talking a massive difference. This clearly shows the profound effectiveness of having those SA males present for stimulating female reproduction. Let's look at the kidding rates, for example, because that's the number most producers focus on. They were incredibly impressive in the stimulated groups. We saw a robust 73% kidding rate in the SA group, 70% in the SA plus SH group, and a whopping 76% in the SA apron plus SH group.
76% in the apron group. Okay, and the control.
Now, compare that to the stark reality of the SH plus SH control group, where nothing much was happening naturally. They only managed a measly 29% kidding rate.
Wow, 76% versus 29%? That's huge. More than double, nearly triple the success rate.
Monumental difference. It really is. It represents a massive, potentially game-changing win for herd productivity and profitability. It demonstrates that simply managing these male social cues can lead to dramatically better breeding outcomes, even during the natural off-season.
Okay, but here's the bit that really blew my mind when I read this. The comparison between those 3 successful groups. Tell us about that.
Right. This is the absolute pivotal finding of the entire study, the result that fundamentally shifts our understanding. There were no significant differences in ovulation rates, pregnancy rates, or kidding rates among the SA group, the SA plus SH group, and the SA apron plus SH group.
No significant difference. Wait, so the group where the SA males wore aprons and couldn't mate,
Yes.
that group had basically the same high kidding rate, 76%, as the groups where the SA males were mating freely.
Exactly. Think about that for a second. It's not just an interesting statistic, it's monumental proof. It fundamentally demonstrates that the SH males, those naturally less active bucks, just from being stimulated by the SA males, through social cues alone, through that bro code, they were able to get the job done. They successfully fertilized the does.
So the SH guys became effective breeders just from the social stimulation.
They achieved comparable reproductive success in terms of actually siring offspring. Their kidding rate was statistically the same as when the highly prepped SA males were doing the breeding. This means those SH males weren't just acting more sexual, their internal reproductive systems got fully activated too. They became physiologically capable of fathering offspring with an efficiency similar to the pre-stimulated SA males. It's just incredible natural efficiency and adaptability.
That really is amazing. So did this social stimulation affect anything else, like how many kids were born per birth or when they arrived?
Good points to check, and the study looked at that meticulously too. Prolificacy, the number of offspring per birth, the litter size, was remarkably consistent across all groups actually, ranging from about 1.5 to 1.8 kids per birth.
So no negative impact on litter size.
None at all. The quality of the births, in terms of numbers, remain high even with the socially stimulated males doing the work, and the interval from when the males were introduced to when the does gave birth. Also remarkably comparable across all the groups that showed high fertility, hovering consistently around 152 to 154 days.
Oh, okay. So they got pregnant quickly and kidded around the same expected time.
Exactly. This impressive similarity in timing suggests the pregnancies in all the stimulated groups happened within a very similar quick time frame right after the male exposure. Totally consistent with that rapid male effect induction we talked about. It wasn't some drawn-out, unpredictable process. It was a swift, efficient, synchronized activation of the reproductive cycle, leading to predictable kidding dates, which is great for management.
Okay, so the results are in, and they're pretty stunning. Let's connect the dots now. What does this all mean practically for you, the listener, with your herd? This research feels like it has truly immense practical implications, right? Especially if you're running a semi-extensive system, maybe in warmer climates where bucks and does might live together, or close by, year-round.
Absolutely. It's huge.
I mean, this study is a big deal because it's the first to really conclusively show that these sexually active male goats can simultaneously stimulate both the does and other male goats just through social interaction when they're all housed together during the non-breeding season.
Yeah, that simultaneous effect confirmation is key.
It basically confirms that one or two highly active bucks really can get the whole party started. Creates this ripple effect that benefits the entire herd. It just highlights how incredibly influential these SA males can be on the whole breeding group, not just the females they personally breed.
And this raises that important question. How did those SH males in the apron group suddenly become fertility champions, hitting that 76% kidding rate? The comparable fertility rates in that SA apron plus SH group were absolutely critical. They were the linchpin for proving the full scope and mechanism of the male-to-male effect. Since the SA males in that group literally couldn't mate, those high kidding rates definitively confirmed it. The SH male goats, simply by being exposed to the SA males and their potent social cues, successfully fertilized the does, and with an efficiency entirely comparable to the SA males themselves.
Even with just 18 days of exposure.
Exactly. It powerfully implies that even a relatively short exposure, just 18 days in this study, to SA males is enough to significantly boost the fertilizing capacity of those SH males. Now, how does that happen so fast? The rapid improvement is likely due to an immediate stimulation of their internal hormonal systems, specifically their pituitary gonad axis.
The pituitary gonad axis. Break that down a bit.
Sure. It's basically the main hormonal highway for reproduction. Starts in the brain, the hypothalamus releases GnRH, gonadotropin-releasing hormone, in pulses. That GnRH signals the pituitary gland to release gonadotropins, you've probably heard of LH, luteinizing hormone, and FSH, follicle-stimulating hormone. These hormones then travel to the testes and act directly on them. They stimulate testosterone production and spermatogenesis, the whole process of making and maturing sperm. So when these powerful social cues from the SA males hit the SH males, it's like a rapid sequence of activations all along this axis. It jumpstarts the whole system, taking it from that standby hypoactive state to full reproductive operation almost instantly. Quick jolt of energy, system back online.
Wow, so what specifically are these SA males doing? What are these exteroceptive signals they're putting out that cause this massive effect? Can you make it more vivid?
Yeah, it's fascinating to think about. It's everything the other goats can perceive through their senses. Think about it. There's the strong, musky odor of the SA male, filled with potent pheromones. Chemicals like 4-ethyloctanol have been identified. These are chemical messengers that directly affect the brain and behavior of other goats.
Smell is a big part of it.
Huge part. Then there are their specific excited vocalizations, those particular bleats they make during courtship. There's the visual of their vigorous, enthusiastic nudging behavior we measured, maybe even seeing them attempt to mount, even if it's not successful in the Abram group. These aren't just random acts. They're powerful, synchronized signals, key drivers stimulating testosterone secretion and boosting sexual behavior in those SH males. That intense sexual behavior displayed by the SA males, it really seems to create this ripple effect, a kind of social contagion for reproductive drive. That's what leads to that dramatic increase in sexual behavior we saw in the SH males. They're literally broadcasting, "I'm ready to breed," and it's catching on like wildfire.
Like flipping a switch in the other males.
Pretty much. And the authors propose another really interesting synergistic idea, too. They suggest that the does themselves, once they enter estrus due to the initial male effect and start showing their own signs of receptivity, they might further reinforce the sexual activity of both the SA and the SH male goats. They call it a female effect, adding to the mix.
So the females getting interested adds fuel to the fire for all the males.
Exactly. It suggests this beautiful, self-reinforcing, and incredibly complex interplay between all three components in a mixed group. The SA males kick things off, providing the initial potent cues. The SH males respond, getting activated both behaviorally and physiologically. And then the does, once they start cycling, provide additional reinforcing cues that further energize all the males. It's like they all feed off each other's energy. A truly interconnected, highly efficient dance of reproduction. A positive feedback loop maximizing breeding success across the whole herd.
That is fascinating. Okay, so let's bring it all home. The ultimate. So what does this all mean for me, for the goat owner listening?
Yeah.
This research really does have huge practical implications, doesn't it? Especially for those semi-extensive systems.
Absolutely. Huge potential.
It offers this powerful, natural tool for managing breeding, right? By strategically introducing or managing your SA bucks, maybe you separate them briefly to make their reintroduction more impactful, or maybe you just identify and ensure a few highly active males are leading the charge in your breeding groups.
Yeah.
You can effectively harness both the traditional male effect on your does, making sure they come into estrus, and this newly confirmed powerful male-to-male effect on your other bucks, making sure they are also highly fertile and ready to breed.
Precisely. This means you now have a scientifically supported natural strategy. You can effectively stimulate sexual activity and fertility in both your does and your less active male goats, even during that tricky non-breeding season. You can aim for high fertility rates in your does, even using males you previously considered hypoactive and maybe you wouldn't have relied on. This gives you an incredible advantage, letting you maximize the genetic potential across your entire male herd, not just the perceived stars.
Better use of all your bucks.
Exactly. And perhaps one of the biggest management benefits is achieving that highly synchronized kidding period. Imagine having most of your kids arriving within a predictable, condensed window of time. Think how much that simplifies flock management. It drastically reduces the labor involved in daily chores, monitoring births, caring for newborns, and it boosts overall production efficiency, allowing for uniform processing, maybe better marketing if you can sell a consistent group of kids.
Yeah, synchronized kidding is a huge plus.
It really is. And this is a remarkably sustainable and cost-effective approach to getting there. You're using nature's own powerful signals rather than relying solely on expensive artificial hormones or those intensive, resource-heavy light treatments. It's genuinely about working smarter, not harder, with your herd's natural biology.
So, wow, what an amazing deep dive into the hidden social dynamics, the surprising reproductive superpowers of our caprine friends, who knew that a little bro time could be so incredibly productive for a male goat, and that one super active buck could essentially kickstart an entire herd's fertility, both male and female, even when it's naturally their downtime. It really changes how you might view those subtle yet profoundly impactful interactions happening out there in your own goat pens.
It really does. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this research truly underscores the profound and often underestimated impact of social cues in animal behavior and physiology across the board. And it kind of raises an important question, doesn't it? What other subtle yet powerful animal behaviors might be silently shaping their world, influencing everything from their health to their social hierarchies, and maybe even impacting our world in ways we don't realize, right under our noses, just waiting for us to uncover their incredible secrets.
That's a great thought to end on. It really makes you think about the hidden complexities of the animal kingdom. There's always more to learn, isn't there?
Always.
This goes to show there's always more to appreciate about the incredible, intelligent animals we share our lives with. Keep observing, keep questioning, and keep being amazed by the natural world around you. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.